there, welcome to virtual lab number 2. Okay, and I'm just going to sort of walk everybody through this real quick. This is one for you to truly do at home. So if you don't have everything, for example, maybe you don't have a measuring cup, or maybe you don't have a balance or a kitchen scale, or maybe you don't have all of the chemicals. That's okay. All right, it really doesn't matter if you can do this lab perfectly in its entirety. What I do want you to do is pick 4 to 5 small objects, non-valuable, of different materials, a measuring cup for liquids if you have it, a ruler or a tape measure, a balance or a kitchen scale if you have it, and water and any household chemicals that you have. Now, I'd love it if you take a picture, but you can also just describe things very carefully. And I have an example of how I might like you to fill this out. Once you pick an object, fill in your qualitative physical properties. Qualitative means quality, or not really something with numbers. So color, texture, smell, appearance, relative size. And then try to come up with some quantitative physical properties. For example, exact dimensions or volume and mass if you have a scale. Last but not least, try to look for some chemical properties. A chemical property is, what does it react with? So you could try reacting your objects with water or vinegar or bleach or ammonia. Chemically, that's known as Windex. Now, you might not have all of these things, and that's okay if you don't. You don't have to do all of them. Just try to do some of them. The point of this lab is to explore your house or the world around you or your apartment, and to maybe have a little bit of fun. If you have kiddos in your life, maybe try getting them into this chemistry experiment with you. A good example of some things that we might want to use as objects would be pennies. Pennies are a great example, mainly because if you put them into a little bit of vinegar or a little bit of bleach, and then you set them out and let them dry and then look at them the next day, you'll see some really, really interesting things. If you do pennies and you see what happens to your pennies after they sit in that vinegar overnight. Now remember, if after they sit in the vinegar, you have to take them out and let them air dry so that they're exposed to the air. Make sure you look up what that weird green stuff is that'll grow on them. Another great example of objects might be something like pretzels. Okay, another one might be a rock or a stick or a pine cone or a pencil or a piece of chalk. Chalk is also really interesting with vinegar, but that one you won't take out. You'll just watch it fizz, and that's a great example of what happens to calcium formations in acid rain. Another example might be a tissue from Kleenex, and looking and seeing what happens when we put those in our objects. So again, this is one example of what the objects that you might choose could be. And then you'll take each one and fill in these sections in the lab. As always, send me an email and let me know if you have any questions. And this is for at-home lab number 2, Chem 120 with me, Jennifer Termal.